Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with my all-time, most favorite, most giggly, most happy, most whatever you can get out there. Every time we start, she's got to start with the laugh.
You started, okay? If anyone's watching this, hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. But if anyone's watching this, you started before you even talked, you went, like, what did you expect me to do? Like, not laugh?
I was trying to see if you could keep it serious. Well, with
I
that,
can't.
we
Never.
have Tom Sadler on today, who is awesome, great guy, doing amazing things. I mean, a lot of people don't know about sports associations, authorities, and what they do within a community, and it's a huge role. It's a huge role to undertake this. They are basically the people that bring sports to an area, make sure that they're functioning, and are a huge part of the economy in many parts of this country through sports authorities and do many things. So Tom is an awesome example of that, a background in collegiate sports and then jumped into the world of sports authority. So we're very lucky to have him today to impart his wisdom.
Yeah, it's so cool to think about how, what he did to bring the Phoenix area, like the Super Bowl and the Final Four and the college football playoff. And it's just really cool to think about that there's organizations that do that. And that's how these different huge sporting events end up in certain cities, across the country. So very, very cool.
And I'm sure people recognize it's big. You see it on TV, but for anyone that's been associated with just some of these events, Jen and I have been involved with some of the NCAA events, the big ones, and it is a huge undertaking. It is
years,
much work and time.
Years of prep. Yeah.
It's a really big thing. So for him to be doing this with his organization year in, year out, and making Arizona a focal point of that nationally is pretty amazing. So very, very cool. So I've never been to Arizona.
Arizona is so cool. I've been to Phoenix. I had a friend that lived in Phoenix and I went to visit her for a week. I want to say I was working at Syracuse at the time. I had to have been. And just a really cool area. She was in the Phoenix area, which is obviously where Tom is. And, our mutual friend Herm and Caroline live there. They're moving back there now. And so really, really cool area. And obviously a lot of sports in that area. So you've got, the Phoenix Suns, you've got the Arizona Diamondbacks, you've got the Cardinals, you've got,
I think Tom's office is inside State Farm. I think it's State Farm now, inside the stadium, which is pretty cool.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So there's just a lot that is in Phoenix, and really, really, and it's close to a lot. I really loved Sedona when I went there. So my friend took me out to Sedona, which is I don't know, an hour from Phoenix. Don't quote me on that. Probably not correct, but just it's so different from New York and Syracuse and you
warmer.
got a little, definitely warmer, but desert and beautiful, mountains and just so cool. And just a really cool, but I will say it's warmer, but it's a dry heat. I always said it wasn't because here, and even when you go to Florida in the summer, it's humid, you just pour water off of your face. It was a dry heat. So it was 100 degrees and it was hot, but it wasn't the sticky, not a fan of that. We get that here. We get all of that here. But so it's really cool. We definitely, now that Herm is back there, we should go visit and see the area, and it's cool. So,
and I'd be fascinated to see what Tom's doing and how he puts together what he's doing and being involved with all these stadiums and what drives it's a economy of sport, and so many areas and cities have made that into such a big thing. So to go out there and learn more about that would be great, because even locally, we've talked about it, what our organization through sports brings to the community.
Oh, for
sure. Not just the institution, but the area that, we recently, I find it crazy because, we recently have a new basketball coach who was an alum, and it's just, you can see the community coming together and what that's going to mean for the area and the economic impacts and people that, I remember from no hiding, Jerry McNamara's coming back, but when I was in college and he also was in college at the same time, they used to bring bus loads from
Scranton, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
And there would be 5-6 bus. I was talking to his mother and I said, I remember when you guys would pull up with all the buses, and she laughed. But it was an economic impact to the area through just one person. And you can see that, and you see that through these things like the sports authorities. And I'd love to see what's going on there in Arizona. So,
I mean, that's the positive impact of sports in any community is just how it brings people together and it makes an impact across the board, whether it's economics or, your just the buzz in the city and the state and what it does. And that's one of the best things about sports. So it's really cool. And it'll be cool to hear kind of how that happens with Tom in Arizona. I think that'll be really cool.
Well, stay tuned after these messages and we'll hear from Tom.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
He earned his Bachelor's of Arts from Aquinas College in Grand Rapids before going on to receive a Master's of Public Administration from Arizona State University. He then spent nearly 2 decades as Assistant Athletic Director at Arizona State University, followed by a move to the University of Hawaii, where he served as Associate Athletic Director in Honolulu. From there, he stepped into major event leadership, serving as President and CEO of the Arizona 2016 College Football Championship Organizing Committee, the board of the Phoenix Final Four Local Organizing Committee. Most recently, he served as co-chair of the 2024 Men's Final Four Host Committee, capping years of transformative work that helped make Phoenix the second city in history to host the nation's 3 largest sporting events in consecutive years: the 2015 Super Bowl, the 2016 College Football Playoff Championships, and the 2017 NCAA Men's Final Four. Since June 2008, he has served as the president and CEO of the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority, a role he holds to this day, bringing more than 17 years of leadership to one of the most dynamic sports and tourism organizations in the country. Please welcome to the show, Tom Sadler. Welcome, Tom.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Well, it's pretty amazing. We were talking before we started that we have a mutual friend in Herm Fraser, and he could not speak more highly about you and the things that you're doing for the state of Arizona and the stadiums and everything that goes on there to make sports a really central part of the Arizona community.
Yeah, Herman actually was the one who got me started in this business at Arizona State University. And so I met him. I was trying not to say the year, but he hired me in December of 1983. That's how long I've known Herman. And I worked for him for, as you said, for those next 19, 20 years at ASU, as well as at the University of Hawaii. We still stay in contact. And as we talked about before, I'll get to see him this week as he'll be in town, and we're going to have he and Caroline out to the Women's Final Four championship that goes on this weekend here in Phoenix.
Well,
that's perfect for Herm.
If you invite him to a sporting event, he will most likely be there.
He can take him to any event, and he'll enjoy it. I can tell you that.
Exactly.
Curling, he'll find any sport. He will be there. He will diagnose it. He'll tell you what he thinks they're doing right and wrong. He's a good time when you're at a sporting event.
There are so many qualities I admire of Herman. But for him to be able to go to all these events, I watched, him at Syracuse for the years that I would see him at every event.
Every time.
Sooner or later, I had to unplug a few times just to recharge. He doesn't need to. He's there.
No,
he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. Even now that he's retired, I still feel like he's not going to stop. So
no, he's not. No.
Well, with that, let's get to your first tip or trick.
All right. Well, a little bit of a caveat on the front end of this is I began thinking about this really probing question that you ask about tips or tricks of folks in the business or wanting to get in the business.
Yeah.
Right.
So as I go through this, they can bounce back and forth. It's just not just one category or another. And I really don't have them in priority order. I mean, I just think all these things together. And again, when you start asking for 4 tips or tricks, there's 28,000 of them.
Yeah.
And you've made me try and hone it down to 4. So hopefully I'll be able to impart something important to your audience. I think the first one I would start with, and again, this goes for folks that are not in the business yet. Maybe they're still students, or some that are in the business now. I've seen this firsthand and really come to grips with the importance of networking. Not just networking on your campus or within the department. That is very important. Don't stop doing that. Meet everybody you can. Get to know them. But when you get chances to go to conferences, or if the conference is having something, go in there with a full head of steam, wanting to meet as many people as you possibly can. Now, there is a little bit of a kind of thread the needle thing to this, because when you meet them, you're going to want to tell them what you do, what your title is, and all of that. But I think it's as important, if not more, to get them engaged in communicating with you.
Yeah.
And having them tell you what they do, and try and develop a relationship. It's not going to happen in one meeting, but if you can get an email address, then you send them a little note, or you give them a call. I mean, all of these things will help you, one, progress in the athletic administration world as you want to continue on to either specialize in something, or for that matter, become an athletic director. Right. You want to know as many people as you possibly can. I've got a real close friend who I think he ought to teach a class in it, because I've never seen anybody network. Now, I will tell you, Herman can network. Okay.
I was going to say, are you speaking about Herman? Because he knows
Herman's
everybody.
one of them, but that seemed to be just his MO. He was natural at that. Yeah. Everything he's been through in his sports life and all of that. This other person came to me. I hired him to work in my department at ASU, and I watched him over the years. After he went his way, I went mine, and he started his own company. I'm not going to bore you in the audience with it, but let's just say he landed big. And I don't know another person right now that is more connected in college athletics than him. And he's in the space of being an owner's rep. So an owner's rep meaning like Penn State's redoing their stadium.
Yep.
He is hired by the athletic department to represent them in the development and construction of projects like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he is just a networker, Tom. If you get a chance to go to a postseason game, go find your counterpart at the other schools. If you get a chance to go to the Final Four, hang out in the lobby, of the headquarters hotel. Absolutely. Just meet people and make them really worthwhile relationships that you have to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, coerce over time, and just have them get better and better. Because all of these people that you're meeting, you don't know where they're going to end up.
Right.
Just like they don't know where you're going to end up.
Right.
And, to have now this is an old school thing for those folks that are listening that are young. It's kind of like your directory, in your phone, but these things were called Rolodexes back in the day.
Yeah.
You want to have the biggest Rolodex, with business cards. I don't even think they give up business cards anymore. But just continue to build that group of people with high quality relationships. And again, it won't happen overnight. You're going to meet them 1, 2, 3 at a time, and just keep going. So I think that's going to be important to help your career.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm actually traveling with our tennis program, and I reached out to some of our counterparts at the other schools and said, hey, I'm going to be traveling with them during their practice. Would you like to meet up? And I'd love to see some of the stuff you're doing, just to keep connection and keep my mind fresh, and to have somebody to reach out to, because you never know what's going to come up and what's around the corner. If I have a challenge that they might be able to help with, or I see something, like just having those connections, you like you said, you don't know where that's going to lead. And the more you can build your Rolodex or build those things up, the more opportunities you give yourself.
Absolutely. And it becomes vital to your progression in the industry that you can pick up your phone. And as you just mentioned, more the best practices. Right. And you bring that back to the people you work for, you're really of great value to them, that you had some resources you could check with and say, hey, we've been doing it like this. Maybe we ought to take a look at, maybe augmenting it and doing it a different way. So that's really important.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, I love how they always say the sports industry is big, but it's also small, and everybody knows everybody.
Yep.
We just had something today where we had a company presenting us a product they can help us do some more engagement in game, and they talked about, they're doing something with Colorado, and I'm like, well, we know two people at Colorado because this person used to work over here, and now they're over at that Learfield property, so we're going to call them and see, because it doesn't just stop when you find the job or when you land the job. Like Maura, you said, you continue it. So you're always networking. I feel like that's something that is kind of like forgotten in sports. Like, let me just network until I have the job. The networking continues for your entire career.
Never stop.
So I love that. I love the hanging out in the lobby. That's such a good one that I think is like underrated, like hanging out in the lobby and you see people. Like, that is smart. Yeah. That is really smart.
You want to become the all lobby team.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. I love that.
Great start. We're doing well. What do we got for tip number 2?
All right. This one is kind of under the category of make an effort. And this is you in your role as you've broken into college athletics and you're making a name for yourself. You're obviously going to put 110% into your job that they've hired you for within the job description that you have, and you want to succeed at the highest level. But I also would recommend that as you go through that and focus, because they hired you to do a job, as you work your paces through that, don't be afraid to roll your sleeves up and help out another team member, no matter what the task is, no matter how mundane it is. It says a lot about you that you have, the wherewithal and the self-awareness to say, look, I've got my particular set of tasks kind of lined up here. I see my colleague, my coworkers struggling with, I don't know, setting up tables or whatever, just all that. Get over there and help. It helps you build those relationships with those folks. And you just said it a second ago, Jen, because what's related to what I'm saying is don't ever look at a task that there's something too mundane for you to do or to help out with. But related to that, sports is a small world. And you just said that. And these people that you're working with or maybe walk by, and didn't help. Maybe they didn't notice, maybe they did, but you don't know where they're going.
Right.
And you want to be in their orbit, and you just never know who you might come across. So treat everybody with respect in that space and treat them how you want to be treated. And you're going to be fine. But again, it's just not your singular focused world. There's other things happening around you. And if you can lend a hand from time to time, I think that's important.
Yeah, Herm. Now I go back to Herm when we were doing his retirement party. That was he spoke to us, and that was one of the things he said. Like, work hard. Like that is something that someone can't take away from you if you work hard and you lend that hand, and nothing is too, beneath you to do something. Like, that's gonna. No matter what, that's going to get you ahead in anything that you're doing is working hard. So I love to hear that when people say that, and not that students now aren't working hard or not trying to put the effort in, but I think it's like they think when they get to a certain point, like, I become the athletic director, I become the GM, I become the whatever. I don't have to go and do X, Y, and Z, but it's still important to always work hard no matter what your role is. And that's what people notice.
I don't think anything bad comes out of hard work,
Nothing.
It
Nothing.
So,
can't. And it's funny you talk about the small world of it all. Like I recently started working with our rowing program, supervising them, and I was doing some work, and then all of a sudden a colleague from years ago, his name is on a list of working with him. He's in California right now. Now him and I will be working together again through rowing and having a relationship on some of the things that he's doing. And, built a relationship, always a nice person that would help me out. I'd help him out. And it's just, it made me feel so much more comfortable because now I'm going into something that I'm not as familiar with and know I have somebody there that I can trust and rely on and work with. So like you said, you don't know what that's going to feed back into and what that's going to mean down the road, but to have those relationships and contribute to people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
Perfect.
On to another one that is a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? A little less fundamental in your work outlook and the hard work that you put in. But just sort of in a general sense, as you are moving through the various positions on your way to trying to achieve your goal into what you want to do, I don't recommend, one, job hopping. That wasn't in my notes. So I'll get to my point here in a second.
Added bonus tip right there. Tip.
It seems, and I was probably guilty of it. As old as I am, I wanted to make more money. I wanted more responsibility, and I wanted it right now. And you really need to stay with something for a couple, 3 years, get a good foundation, get a good base through all your networking, and then you can start, I think, in my view, just my opinion, you can start looking around. Unless something fabulous comes your way that works for you, don't move laterally just to move because you think you've got a better chance of being promoted somewhere else. But what I was going to say is you got to be flexible when you're looking at these other opportunities. You're not always going to be moving to or looking to move to a job in a place that's listed in some travel magazine as the top 10 places to live. In fact, some of the best growth opportunities are literally in places that are not in the top 10 of places to live, right? And a growth opportunity for you in terms of gaining more experience and really building your portfolio. So be flexible. Know that, having the ability or the flexibility to move and be able to open up the options that you have to, again, build your portfolio. Now, as I say that, if Herm's listening, he's going to fall out of his chair because I spent 20 years at Arizona State. Okay. So I'm going to admit the hypocrisy in this, except for one thing. I felt that every 3 or 4 years while I was there was something new and bigger on the horizon while I was there. And that wasn't planned. Those things were just happening. And so I'm a little, breaking my own rule there. But again, I think it is to be flexible and say, I'm only going to, my search is only going to be in the South, or it's going to be on the East Coast, or it's going to, initially as you get into this business and begin moving through it, you're going to have to, cast the net far and wide, and don't be afraid to do that because it's exciting to move to new places and meet new people and maybe at times be in an uncomfortable place of, I'm starting all over again, after I built this life for 2.5, 3 years at Syracuse, now I'm over here. But unfortunately, that's what's going to have to happen.
Right. No, that's awesome. Now, similarly, people that say, hey, I want to work kind of on the pro side or the college side, because you kind of have experience through both, especially in what you do now. How do you direct people towards picking up opportunities that maybe help get them towards a goal? Like, should you be open to looking at things maybe outside of your, final destination or goal?
Yeah, I really think you do. And again, I'm going to also have to state for the record, I'm not going to go back and waste all the time on this podcast taking you through. If this didn't happen for me, then this wouldn't have happened. Then this, I didn't plan a lot of this.
Right.
Those things just happened, but I happened to be there at that time when that opportunity, presented itself. Or it goes back to the question again. What was it?
So you get a lot of questions about being kind of more in the pro, area, being involved with a sports authority, being involved with all these different groups and sizes. And people might say, hey, I want to work in professional football, or I want to work in collegiate. Is it, and not sometimes those opportunities aren't available, but if you're interested in sports and want to look in the world, is it okay to jump kind of between those different areas and look for things that connect? Or do you think you really should hone in on, that specific background?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so I'm going to fly off the cuff with answering that. Um, in this day and age, I think you really need to focus in on something that you've, thought about and decided this is where I want to go.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if, and I'll give you a real life example. The COO for the Arizona Cardinals is a guy named Jeremy Walls. And as Jeremy and I got to know each other, he came out of some small school back east. He ended up out here, ironically enough, was interning for the Suns. And then I think he worked at the Diamondbacks. Mm-hmm. And then he just went on a ride that got him at the end of the day. I think he was senior VP for marketing for the Dolphins and, ended up in NFL. So there are opportunities to do that. But again, that's still in that space. You wanted to be in professional football. And so you throw yourself at the mercy of the internships and the long hours and the tough go. If you want a shot at it, then it's there. And Jeremy's proof of that. So I don't think, just my opinion, it'd be hard to pursue full-time athletic administration while bopping back and forth into the pros.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time you would have in a day to be able to build that kind of resume. But maybe there are opportunities that you have to take to prove to yourself what you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense, I would agree. You could go back and forth till you figured it out. And, back in our day, as they say, Herman and our boss at the time, Charles Harris, and maybe there are other folks involved, I don't know, put together the first internship at Arizona State, which was kind of cool. And so we identified that person. They accepted the internship. And then they would go on a rotation schedule, every 2 months from department to department.
Yeah.
And then in their second year, they got to focus on what they wanted to do. No one ever selected my shop. Way too many hours, way too much to do. Let me try something out. Actually, there were just a slew of very talented people that came through there.
Awesome.
That's the best part about internships. That's where you probably can do a little more bopping, like you said, where you can see what you like and what you don't like, and what, you might have one idea in your mind, but then you actually do it and you're like, yeah, no, that's not for me. And internships is where you figure that out. So that makes sense.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, we're going along. Number 4. What do we got?
That was 4.
Number 5. Are we on number 5 already? Oh my God, it flew by.
I know.
Okay.
All right,
Jen.
wait, it's my turn. Turn. Big question. All right. So Tom, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
That I wish I knew that I needed to work on this or make that part of my repertoire of getting better as a professional, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are doing it right now. You've got to get comfortable in public speaking.
Wow.
And I thought I had it all down, that, I'm just going to stand up in front of this. We were having a press conference for some reason, and I had zero media training, and that couldn't have went any worse than most anything I've done. I've even tried to forget about it. So what I would suggest to the folks that are listening in, whenever you have an opportunity to speak in public, do it. Mm-hmm. If you're in class and you're working in groups and they need a spokesperson, do it. If you think you need to go to, you guys ever hear of what's called Toastmasters?
Oh my God, I was going to say my father told me this the entire time when he said, "Oh, you got to do Toastmasters. You got to do Toastmasters."
I wished I would have. I mean, I went to the school of hard knocks of just trying to get by doing the public speaking thing.
Yeah.
College athletics and this profession as a whole, it's a people business.
Right.
You have to know how to communicate. You have to be doing it with some clear thought, and that, you can read the audience while you're making there's so many different things that go into becoming someone who can walk into a room of people they don't know and give a presentation just off the cuff.
Right.
That's where you want to get to. And so it's, as they say, practice. But I think in this world, it's always been this way, in athletic administration. You're gonna make a lot of public presentations and or speeches, and you might as well get good. If you got to go to, maybe there's classes on campus.
Right.
You know, if there's media training, you know, and it's like 3 or 4 Saturday mornings, I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
Go to it. You know, pick up all the knowledge you can in the public speaking space, because it will pay dividends by the time you move further on through your career.
Yeah, go to your athletic communication staff and try and get some tips, or talk, you know, present in front of them. Like, they are usually very knowledgeable and can really give you some helpful hints. And you know, anytime that I've been put in a position where, you know, you're doing an interview for something, or, you know, be able to have they've always been there. So like, you're like, use your community, like you said, find ways to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that. Nobody has said that. And I think, you know, even just from, I don't want to say this is not even as important, but like how you run a meeting, like that's public speaking. When, you know, when you have a group of people that you're working through, whether it's on a game day or you're talking to your staff about what their responsibilities are, you're public speaking. You have to be able to communicate the message clearly. You can't try not to get flustered. If somebody has questions, you need to be able to respond in a clear, communicative way. So even if you're not up on the podium answering questions at a press conference, you're still public speaking. You're still, like you said, running a meeting, talking to your staff, you know, out there doing a presentation for your coaches. You know, like if you're in sport administration, you're talking to your teams. Those are all examples of public speaking, you know what I mean? And you got to be comfortable in it. And yes, you're never going to be like, okay, I get nervous all the time. I get nervous a little bit before doing a podcast. Like, I don't know, you know? So, but the more that you do it, the better that you're at it. And the way you handle the situation, you know, whether that's the meeting or you're talking to a team, you get much more comfortable in it the more times you do it. So I love that one. Nobody has said that. And I think people don't realize in sports, you are talking a majority of the time. And if you don't like to talk, there's not a lot of things for you to do in sports if you don't like to talk.
You can work in the business office.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to start throwing out jobs because I'll get in trouble with somebody. There are a few that you don't have to, but for the most part, you do.
The business office with the numbers, it's definitely one of them.
If you like to crunch numbers, that's your place to go. Well, Tom, thank you so much for doing this. We really enjoyed getting to meet you and hearing your tips and tricks. And anybody that goes out to Arizona and goes to probably anything affiliated with a sporting event, Tom's probably has some affiliation with it, or his hand has probably touched it in some way. So we appreciate that and all your efforts out there, because that's a big undertaking.
Thanks, Maureen. It's an honor to be on with you guys. But you were right. We did have number 4.
Oh, I was going to say.
And this one is funny because I know you guys have heard it before. But if you're a student trying to get into the business and you're interviewing, you know, with someone that's going to be making hiring decisions, when you go in there and they ask you, and this is just my opinion, somebody might be offended by this, I don't know. When they ask you, why do you want to work in this role? Don't start off with, I love sports.
Exactly.
Love sports.
That's the best. That's perfect.
I love football. No, we get that.
They would be more surprised if you say, you know what, I really hate sports. I just needed a job, because that's
You might get hired.
You probably would get hired. That's not even a joke.
Anyway, sorry for that. I wanted to make sure I got that one in, and you were spot on, Maury.
That was perfect.
That was a great one. That was such a good one. And it's funny, we say that all the time. Don't tell me you're a fan of our teams or that you like this. You know, we don't. That's not what we're looking for. I love that one. I love that one too. So good. I'm glad you got that one in. That was great.
Well, with that, thanks everybody for listening, and Jen, throw out all of our information for those.
Yes, that was great. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for listening. Like Maury said, and make sure you're following us on all your social channels at AthCareerPod, and on all the podcast platforms, and rating and reviewing and liking and all the things. And yes, new episodes drop every Tuesday. So thanks everybody. And thank you, Tom. It was so great to have you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye guys.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.